Hi, I'm Birdime. Today we are talking about the new Scream movie, the fifth in the franchise. Another horror movie reboot trying to go back to its roots, be a little bit darker, and make up for some not so good sequels. Today we are giving it a full review, a little bit of spoilers, and giving it a score at the very end. I definitely have some mixed opinions at points. Overall, there's good things like the use of the music was very good. There was good cinematic feel to a lot of the scenes of the movie. The opening scene especially was fun. To actually have the first kill survive instead of the usual horror movie thing where they die and then that sets up the entire thing in the movie. That person actually is integral to the plot and gets to actually survive, which gives it a definitely different feel. And also sets up a mostly realistic thing. I think it really sets up the standard of what to expect in the movie, because Scream movies usually set more in a reality base, especially with a human killer. And I feel like this movie kind of makes sure to remind you of that a little bit in the opening scene. Also in the beginning, it really sets up so many people are being suspicious, and not even in a fun way. Where, that's, I think, will be my first complaint. Because it's not, fun, ooh, is that person? Oh, is that person? It's literally just people, straight up accusing people. Hey, you could be a killer. You could be a killer. And they do that a lot in, the first hour of the movie. And it's so annoying. It makes no sense. I'd rather have us accusing people, or maybe just one or two be you could be the killer, than people straight up just it could be you. Why? It's this reason. I was at football practice. We don't even know these things about these characters, and they're already, making excuses for themselves. So overall, I would like to say there's a lot of decent acting in the movie, which definitely helps the movie a lot. There's some scenes where I'm but I think that's the worst it gets, is a little acting. A lot of the acting was good, and they even have some good lines and a few good monologues in the movie, which definitely helps the overall feel of the movie to be better than the last few movies. So the beginning was mostly strong. I have mixed opinions though on the first real half of the movie is mostly just new characters. Because I know some people will be really upset that Sidney Prescott was not in a lot of the movie. But I don't know. I kind of actually like that Sidney wasn't the star of the entire movie. And it kind of sets up some new things and some new rules. And kind of gives it a new feel that makes it actually good. And they didn't just half do it by introducing these new characters, but they're only kind of minor characters. They introduced new characters and they gave the confidence of letting them actually star in the movie fully, which I kind of like that actually. I know that's not going to be everyone's opinion. Some people just want to see the original actors. They don't really care about the new characters, but I liked it. Another thing that I have mixed opinions on is the constant references to the Stab movie. And they kind of get to the point where it's just straight up talking about the movie for in an entire scene. And there's other movie references which were nice. There's some that was just straight up blatant. But I don't know, the Stab references and kind of being plot point feels like they have done that a lot in the last few movies. So it definitely got me worried that oh no, this is not gonna be good. Because it kept reminding me of the older movies at some point. And I don't know, I feel like they definitely should have stopped talking about Stab as much and not have it be a big plot point as it is. Because I definitely know some of the meta stuff people have mixed opinions on. I definitely did at some points in this movie. Because if you can realize your flaws, why are you still kind of making the same mistakes? I don't know. One of the scenes I have a mixed opinion on, it was also Randy's niece just going full on meta, straight up explaining everything, and I felt like it was dragging on too long. I don't know, just trying to capture the magic of Randy's character from the original movie, which I don't know if it was just fully there. Because Randy's niece and nephew were actually decent parts of the movie, especially the niece. But I don't know, I feel like this scene was a low point in my mind for the character. That it should have been that she is connected to the character, but also can have her own good traits that shine through. And another thing that I also had mixed opinion on throughout the entire movie was the comedy. I liked it. I actually laughed at most of the things that they said, or at least smiled. But it's at the same point where I I feel like some people may not like it. I personally don't think it's some of the jokes when we watching it aren't just gonna be like ones where like, okay, I only laughed once, I'm never gonna find this funny again. But this time I felt like the comedy of the movie will actually just be more subtle the next time you watch it, if you watch it again, which will be nice, because instead of just being like, oh, well, there's a joke, it would just be like a regular line, and you can give it kind of more of a less comedy feel the second time you're watching it, with the lines being more subtle. And of course, we have to talk about Ghostface. He was fun, as usual. Him being able just to pop out of nowhere was just enjoyable. The theater I was watching in, a lot of people were like, oh, like every time he popped up, like they actually weren't expecting him. And they did some good fake outs as well. It actually made Ghostface look really smart throughout the entire movie. Though, again, Ghostface being good, there's also some problems with him and other things of the movie. And I'm just going to talk about them now because Ghostface does one of the main things. And that's just whole movie logic, or just breaking logic in general, which a lot of movie does. But in this movie, there's like the killing in broad daylight outside of the house in the front yard. Like, what the heck was that? Like, that makes no sense. Like, in the end of the movie, there's a character that's set on fire, and then they somehow survive, which was like, oh, wait, what? That makes no sense. But going back to some good things about Ghostface, he was so brutal in the movie. It was picture perfect. It was nice to actually see him brutal and taken seriously. Like, the kills in this movie were, like, for real brutal. And it's nice to see that it's not, like, comedically brutal like some of the kills in Halloween Kills were. Another good thing, though, about the movie is that they knew the fans well, which is how they could make a good Ghostface, how they could make some good characters. But at the same time, they kind of pointed things out, which was very weird that you would point things out about characters and what they did in past movies instead of just letting fans know a little bit more, which annoyed me a little bit, because if you know your fans so well, then you shouldn't have to point out things, you know what I mean? It kind of just made it like, okay, here's some exposition real quick, which was a little tedious at times. It only happened in one or two scenes, and most of the movie they just knew the fans and let them kind of assume things, and assumed they knew the movies. Also, they knew a lot of the past characters, which made me kind of mixed that they would make so many characters related to past characters. Like, it was okay at some points, but then, like, it did get annoying at some points. But finally, before I give the score, I'm not gonna say who dies in the movie. There is one death that was just picture perfect in the movie, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the shock reveal. I won't say who the killer is, but I will say the moments that they reveal who the killers were was just perfect. That they would just stop the movie and make you think it's just one person, and then they would just pop up like, nope, it's actually me, and it was just nice. They definitely written in who the killer scenes much better than usual. They usually just get too annoying, and you can kind of see like 30 seconds before it happens. It's like, oh wait, no, it's gonna be this person. But instead, they kind of trick you a little bit to be like, oh, it's gonna be this person, and then it's like, oh shit. So they kind of definitely devoted expectations right beforehand. Like, I predicted one of the killers from the beginning, and even I was shocked. They did really well. And overall, I am going to give the new Scream movie an 83%. I think it was good, well written for the most part, well made for the most part. It felt like the few mistakes in the movie I actually had mixed opinions on. I didn't hate most of the things that they did, and just kind of just got to enjoy the movie. I actually even liked that it was 2 hours, because it felt like they used the time well. It felt like they paced the movie well for the most part. And I just thought they did pretty good. I feel like maybe it's going to be one of those movies in the future I would drop it down 1 or 2% when we're watching it. But I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I recommend all of you go and watch it. And until next time, I've been Birdime. Make sure you have a good night.